New microphone. Please tell me you can hear me. I got a new microphone. We literally just set it up. It's on a separate side of the desk. We moved everything over so things look a little bit different. I also just bought the cutest new earrings. How cute are these little cherries? So cute. Yay, you can hear me. Oh my goodness. I'm having so much fun this week. There are good things happening. And after a few weeks, or actually a few months almost of summer, where I felt like I was in a lot of transition and a lot of things were up in the air and some things not going exactly the way I wanted, I feel like, knock on wood, please God, I have made it through some of the hard things and we're into some fun stuff. And I am so excited for it. I am. Uh, Getting excited for fall and I'm getting excited for all the things that are coming up. But you had such a good mic. Well, I had a mic that died on me in 3 different live streams, so we got a new mic. This is a much better mic. It was a cheap the mic that I had was a relatively inexpensive mic from Amazon, and multiple times it kept dying on me or not fully giving sound, and I was like, "Okay, we're done with this. I do too many live streams to not be able to rely on my microphone." So, I invested in a new mic, and I was trying to download this is the HyperX Quadcast, and I was trying to, change it because you can download the app that goes with it, and it'll stay one color the whole time, and no, it it wouldn't download in time. Microsoft Store. It was taking forever. So I was like, okay, we're not going to do that right now. All right. I'm going to pull up questions for today. I'm going to read a deleted scene from Vanessa Shaw. And let's see, where's my questions? Why can I not find them? Friday. Oh, because I see why. We are going to chat about some of the updates, and we're also going to just talk about some things that have been up on my mind in terms of just motivation, belief, and the power of continuing to hold the faith, I guess. Also, I posted this in the Discord server. Where's my sus one? I've got these super cute little paper clips from the Honey Bee Shop. And for those of you that are my Twitch crew, I had to get this one that says sus. It's so cute. And then I just got this red heart. And then yesterday, this is technically supposed to be a hair clip. I got this at TJ Maxx. It's supposed to go in your hair, I think, somewhere. But I'm gonna put it on my planner because it's just so cute. So I don't know. George and I went shopping to get a few other things, and I just noticed there's so much fall stuff that, like Halloween stuff in particular, that it was making me happy, but I had to hold myself back. But it's kind of fun this year for Spooktacular because I have the bookshelves to decorate. So I might very sus. I might change the uh, configuration of where I'm facing so that I can really go all out in decorating the bookshelves. So we'll see kind of how that goes. But lots of cute stuff out there. So mind your wallets and uh, you know, check it out. But it is so funny. I saw somebody mention that it's hot. It's so funny that it's all this fall stuff is coming out. All the Halloween stuff is coming out, and it's 102 degrees today. So you just can't always guarantee in a place like Texas or some of these other states near me that you're going to get happy weather. It's not fall yet. It's still summer, but like you haven't gone all out yet. I know, but this is not Halloween decor, right? And I have my like Urban Outfitters skull that I've had for years and years. I'm so excited for fall, Jen. But I just bought a pink skull as well. So fake fake it until you make it fall. That's what we have. Summerween. I love that too. I am thinking really hard, not really thinking hard, but just I've gotten into a place of joy again with thinking about my writing, Broken Chapter Society, all the stuff that's coming up. And you will see that I will completely disappear from the internet starting on Sunday and going through most of next week. I will still be checking in on my Publish and Thrive students. If you need help, Renee will be around. Angela will be around. If you need help, we've got admins that have got you handled, but you will still get support. But I am disappearing for Sunday through Thursday. I have booked a location that I won't announce until afterward to literally just go away by myself and finish the book. And I set a goal for myself this week of let me see how far I can get in the edits. And if I can get to this one specific chapter, then I am going to go away for a few days. And in some ways, it's bittersweet because I have been away from my family quite a bit this year. And August is one of the only months that I'm not traveling for work stuff because I have something in September, October, and November. And then we are going probably back to the Raleigh area for Christmas. So it's like flights every single month, and it has been a lot. And I have been away from my kids quite a bit this year. And so it feels selfish in some ways to say, okay, and now I'm going away again. But at the same time, this is how I get the book done. The disappearance of Sarra Cannon. Exactly. And it is going to be really, really fun. And I am definitely excited about finishing it up. And I know there have been multiple times that I've thought it's almost done. It's almost done. And it has been annoying to me and probably many other people that it hasn't been almost done at any of those points in time. But this time it is almost done. And it's almost like I don't want to jinx myself by saying that. But my hope is that by next Friday for Coffee Chat, you will be able to hear the news that it is off to my beta readers. So that is the way it is. And yeah, I mean, I think this is a part of it is, you know, I get to trade that time that I'm away for literally all summer spending hours and hours and hours with everybody. So that is really fun. And I'm just looking forward to having the freedom, continuing the freedom to just, be able to go away when I need to, finish the book if I need to. But I always work better if I've hit a certain point in the story or I've hit a certain point in my confidence in what's happening to go away and just completely immerse myself in the story. So if there is any drama in the world that happens in my communities, because, I manage several Facebook groups and everything else, it's just going to have to wait. Don't bring any drama to the community next week. Just wait till I get back because I just really want to go away and be able to enjoy it. I will be vlogging the whole thing. It might, because it's 5 days, basically, I will probably put it into parts or I will just do minimal updates, but it will hopefully, in hindsight, hopefully the vlog will be called Finishing Vanessa Shaw, basically. And it will be Tale of Triumph. Let's hope. Let's hope. I feel like the fun thing for me is that I am coming out from a place where it feels like transition and finally having clarity. And I think this is a point where, or a reason why I have been drawing so many swords this year. And I usually, when we talk about tarot, a vlog where Sarah cries, yeah, if whether I finish it or I don't finish it, there will be tears. Either one way, there'll be tears of disappointment or tears of excitement. But I feel like after a lot of questioning and internal shifting and other things like that, I finally hit a point where I feel like I have clarity. And when it comes to tarot, I usually draw a lot of pentacles and cups. Like those are the two things I draw the most of, or I've had years where I've drawn primarily wands. But swords, my whole life with tarot, I have very rarely ever drawn swords. And swords are more about the mind, intellect, and like can be strategy or clarity, mental acuity, any of those kind of things. And really even just kind of knowing they're less emotional in a lot of ways than something like the cups, where you have this internal knowing from your heart. This is like, in your mind what you're supposed to do. And I have gotten so many swords. Like the most drawn cards for me this entire year have been swords. And I think I'm starting to understand why, which is the fact that I've had to come around to a place where I know strategically exactly where I need to be. This is definitely not true. It does not need to be 2 books. It's definitely 1 book. But it's just taken so long because it's very complex. And there's a few reasons why it's taken so long, but briefly, one is that it's super complex story. And every time one thing shifts, it's like a Jenga, you pull one thing out, the whole thing falls apart. So you have to rebuild it from the ground up. And it's just more complex than anything I've ever written. It's also the only standalone I've ever written. And so getting it all figured out in one book when I'm used to having like 12 books to figure out the storyline is difficult. Number 2, I just have not been able to find a balance for myself because when I work really well with deadlines, but the thing that always has a deadline is my courses, the next video, the next coffee chat. There's always every week like 10 things that are due this week. But when it comes to the writing, it's sort of like, well, it could take you 5 years. And even though I have tried to set up deadlines, it just has always been like the thing that's due this week is always a thing that takes priority. And it has taken me a long time, post-travel, post-pandemic, post-move into the house to start to figure out, plus post having a 4-year-old, you can't really understand, I think, exactly how to balance life with small children when you're also moving and managing multiple businesses and trying to build a team. And, there's just so much stuff going on, which is not to complain. It's just saying, I need to get off my own back and just allow myself to figure it out, because it is a challenge and it has been difficult. And I have felt the pressure on my shoulders, some of it from myself and my own perception, and some of it from outside comments and other things like that I have allowed, to just be. But it's just, is Heather is Heather not I think maybe Heather can't see me, because she keeps saying she's having trouble. So if anybody wants in the comments to say, "Heather, she's live," maybe refresh. Um, oh, and I just look up as 222. So if everybody hits the like button, we'll have 222 likes. But yeah, I think it's a matter of giving yourself grace, but not giving yourself so much grace that you don't move forward, right? Because I could give myself grace till the cows come home and never finish the book. And there's a point where it's like, okay, it's go time and it's time to get into action and stop trying to plan it and stop trying to make it perfect and just start doing it and showing up imperfectly and, making sure that you've got this going. But I'm hitting that point finally where I have been working on solutions and I finally just said, okay, we're done trying to find the perfect solution and trying to be everything to everyone. And now it's time to just get into action on the things that I love. And I think this is where the conversation comes in about belief that I wanted to talk about today, which is, one of the most important things that we talk about, or not important, but like things people question most is motivation. How do we get stuff done when motivation seems to be difficult to find? And that can be difficult, obviously, because motivation is fleeting. And it is easy for me, and I know it's true for some of you, but not everybody, that it's easy for me to find motivation and excitement for stuff when I'm planning it. Harder for me to find the motivation on the day to day, every day that I am working towards it. So I can sit here and work on a schedule for what books I'm going to publish over the next year. And I can take out my highlighters and I can figure out a perfect schedule and get excited about writing these stories and showing up and how it's going to work. And then when I sit down tomorrow to follow through on that schedule, it's hard to find sometimes the motivation to say, okay, I'm going to actually do that. And this is true for me, especially with eating healthy, with exercise, with writing, the things that are hard. It's easier for me with things that have concrete deadlines. So that's why I've been able to show up consistently with coffee chats or show up consistently with coursework or showing up for my students, like that stuff, or even just having a weekly video on heart breathings. I've been pretty consistent about that for years, 6 years. But when something doesn't have a concrete deadline, it becomes more challenging for me because I feel like I have to find the motivation to get it done even when it's hard. And that starts to rub up against my uh my self-sabotage, my trauma, my if you want to call PCOS a chronic illness, I sometimes hate to call it that because I know there are people that struggle with a lot worse things than PCOS, but PCOS is also on a spectrum, and I feel like don't have a mild case of it. And yeah, and it is definitely when I show up for other people, which comes back to growing up with a narcissistic parent where your needs were not important, but her needs were the most important thing. So it's a training, like being trained for 40 years of your life, and especially in your early childhood, that everyone else's needs matter more than yours. And so you show up for other people, you do the thing you're supposed to do, and then your needs show up later, right? And that all of that kind of stuff, yeah, harder to push the things that serve you. If it's something my kids need, it's done. If it's something that the community has asked of me or my neighbors need, it's done. If my students need it, it's done. But when it comes to, and the truth is, though, for some reason, it's not always the same way with, I know my readers have been waiting. So why doesn't it motivate me the same way? Motivation and finding the code, your personal code for motivation, consistency, continuing to show up and follow through, especially when it's something you don't want to do or something that's hard, is the bane of so many people's existence. And I know so many close friends that the number one sadness and regret and disappointment of their lives is not how other people have treated them or things that have fallen through. It's the way they feel they have failed themselves. And how many times they've said, I'm going to do this. I'm, I was just talking about, we have a friend who has had a dream for years of, I am going to live in a van. Like I want to create a, like, turn a passenger van or a bus into kind of like a traveling, whatever you would call it, like living in a van. Um, and I want to do that. And she has gone so far as to at one point buy a bus and clean it out, but then not follow through on actually changing the bus and making it livable and where it would go on the road. And then having to sell that, and then later buying a van and trying to go through that same process, and never, yeah, I guess van life is just what people call it. But 10 years, this has been her big dream. And though she has gotten started on it 1,000 times, she's never done it. And as time goes on, it feels like when I hear her talk about it, it feels like it just gets heavier and heavier, because instead of it being this fun, adventurous, joyful thing that she thinks about, it is constantly a reminder of all the ways she feels that she's let herself down. And it even gets to a point where I think she doesn't want to answer questions or get excited about it again, because she feels like it's a burden on everyone around her to have to hear her get excited and talk about how she's going to do the thing that she's never followed through on. And, if you're familiar with the Langston Hughes poem, What Happens to a Dream Deferred, the one that comes with that saying, it dries up like a raisin. Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? And I feel like that is the heartbreak of millions, if not billions of people in the world, is knowing that you want to do something and knowing that you have this dream, and somehow in the day to day, not being able to follow through. And I think, honestly, this is what I mean by motivation code, is that it's different for everybody in terms of why that is the case. For some people, it's fear. It's what happens if I do this thing. For some people, it's uh, trauma, that they don't feel safe pursuing that dream because maybe there was a time in their lives when they did pursue a dream and it didn't work out, or they got hurt, or they got taken advantage of in some way or whatever. There's also the possibility that there's some part of you that doesn't feel you deserve it. So you're not really afraid of it, but deep down you just don't, you can't get your identity into the right place where you say, this is who I am, right? I am the kind of person who follows through. Some people can never get over that. And it is something in general that I have to continue to work on in my own mental health all the time. This idea of motivation. And yeah, some people fear success too, because there's a few layers to this sometimes that I think has to do, like, when we get back to this core of belief and motivation and why or not you do it. There are some people that believe subconsciously, whether you know it's true or not, that if you were to get big enough, like, who do you think you are on your high horse kind of moment, that you got big enough, you have either seen examples of people who have gotten big in that way and have changed, become uh, maybe more egotistical, or they're different and it has meant something in your life that that was happening, or maybe you had a parent or someone in your family that was like, oh, that person's not the same now that they have that money, or you're afraid you will lose some of your friendships or some of your relatability. You're afraid you'll lose your safety because you're more visible. And there's all kinds of reasons why we can be afraid of both success and failure. And I think for a lot of people, when you have something you want really badly and you see and even believe that this could be possible for me, there's a sometimes, I don't know if I can explain this in the right words without talking in circles, but I'll do my best. Of There's this belief sometimes that, okay, I am, let's say, wanting to be an actress. We'll just pull that out of there. Let's say somebody wants to be an actress and it's what they've wanted forever, but they never quite follow through on the auditions. And in fact, sometimes they get callbacks that they don't actually follow through on, or they don't call, or they show up late every time and there's some element of sabotage. And the reason behind that deep down could be that because they want it so badly, as long as they don't follow through to the point of rejection, there's still a belief that it could happen for them. But once they get rejected, they're afraid that dream suddenly becomes dead. And so if they don't try too hard, they're always going to sit on that edge of, like, maybe that's possible for me. But if they try and they put everything possible into it and it doesn't work out, then that dream has died. And for some people, it's much more of a comfort zone to go right up to the edge of success. Like, you're writing the books, you're working hard, but you never quite publish one. You never quite submit it to an agent. There's always some excuse as to why you're not finishing it. And sometimes you blame it on other people. Well, it just didn't work out, or this is too expensive, or this person didn't quite finish here, or this, I don't think this is whatever. And it's because somewhere deep down, you don't actually want to publish the book, because once you publish it, your dream is now out there and you'll find out whether it's real or not. And there's this idea of the anticipation makes it there still be hope. But if I follow through and I fail, the hope is gone. I don't know if I explained that very well, but I think for some people, that is what's holding you back. And so, what yeah, and this is true too, that sometimes it's the journey that has been such a build up. And then once you actually get there, it's a letdown of, like, is that all it was? Because so often when we set our goals, like, let's say you were building a vision board for yourself and you're thinking about this life that you want, a lot of times it's not a lifestyle, it's a moment, right? So it's, I want to hit the USA Today bestseller list, or I want to buy a house, or I want to walk the red carpet of my movie deal. And so you're thinking about that moment. I just want to hold my book in my hand for the first time, or I want to walk into Barnes and Noble and see my book on the shelf, which after 14 years, y'all, of publishing, that just happened to me last week. I I did that Lexi Ryan uh, host in conversation with Lexi Ryan at the Barnes and Noble in Stonebriar, and here in what city is it actually? I don't know, in Grand Prairie, or I don't know, somewhere. And they had me sign books, but I didn't know if they were really going to put them on the shelf, or if they would be like behind a place, or whatever. I didn't know what. And so then I went last week. The reason we didn't have coffee chats because I was going to see Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Grapevine. Thank you, Angela. Why do you know everything? I was going to Grapevine, and I was going to see Jennifer Lynn Barnes speak and sign my book. And as I was walking by, I realized there's Holly Black, there's The Hunger Games, there's all these books, and there's Sarah Cannon, and it says local author, and it has a big sticker that says signed by the author. And I had actually just randomly, was not planned. I don't think she knew I was going to be there. One of my fans recognized me who was in line to have her book signed by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and she started crying and she bought one of my books and had me sign it in the store. And so we were there for a book signing of someone else, and someone recognized me and had me sign the book so they could buy it. And then as we were signing, all these other girls walked up and they were like, "Who is that?" So then my friend Megan was like, "Oh, that's Sarah Cannon. This is her book." So then they had me sign their books, and it was just cool. It was cool. Or I didn't sign their books, but the books were already signed. But they were, like, looking at the book and picking it up and stuff like that. So, it was just a moment, but the point was that if that was on my vision board from the beginning of, I just want that one moment in time, I just want one moment where I can sign my book in a Barnes& and Noble, then that was the moment. It's checked off, and you can enjoy it, but you might come home and be like, "Okay, now what?" Right? And that's why I encourage people in my courses, when you start thinking about your dream life, make it more than just a moment, make it the lifestyle. Like, how do you want your ideal day to go? How do you want your life to feel on a daily basis? How many hours a day do you want to work? Because in the end, the dream is not this one moment in time. The dream is who you're becoming and what kind of life you have when you get there. And when we talk about motivation, one of the things I just wanted to mention today before we do a reading and answer questions from the Discord is just to say, I wanted to share this because it's been on my mind a lot, that motivation is fleeting. And sometimes it's just not going to be there for you when it's time to get on the treadmill or write the book or, show up for today's round of whatever, because our motivation can be blocked by trauma. It can be blocked by fear. It can be blocked by fear of success. It can be blocked by self sabotage that we don't even understand why. It can be blocked by so many things, being tired, having chronic illness, your body letting you down. There's this It can be difficult to find that inner motivation because the comfortable thing to do is the thing you've always done, whatever's been comfortable for you. Even if it's painful, it still can be more comfortable, right? And oh, Kelly, thank you. uh, so what I have been thinking about switching instead is not to thinking about motivation, but instead to thinking about belief. And who asking myself the question of, who do I really believe that I am? What do I really believe I'm capable of? What do I believe will happen if I don't follow through? What do I believe will happen if I do? What am I afraid of happening? And really, instead of looking at it from a place, because I feel like motivation often has this feeling of like pressure and like pulling it up the hill, like bootstrapping yourself in and just like efforting it all the way through, like motivation, right? And I think that can serve people. Some people are super motivated by that, especially like if you think about those movies about, people in the military who are like, yeah, like I don't want to get up, but I'm like getting pumped about like being, my best self, whatever. But I think there is so much more power sometimes in belief. And when we want to achieve a specific goal, part of what we need to do, and part of what I think is my own motivation code, is less about trying to muster the willpower or get motivated, and more about letting motivation naturally come out of a deep belief that I am safe, that I am capable, that I am meant for this, that I am a good person. Like, the more I work on my own self-confidence, my own, um, like, distancing from people that don't like me because, obviously you all know we've talked about this so many times that it is difficult for me to have people be angry at me, or, I've struggled a lot in the past with comments or drama or other things online. And the more I work on my own confidence to just say, well, then I'm just not for that person. I actually just bought a sticker. It's upstairs though, that says peaches are sweet, but not everybody likes peaches. And I thought that was perfect because, I grew up in Georgia around peach farms, but um, it's true. Not everybody's gonna like everything you do. You might put out a book and some people think it's trash, and you might put out, uh, you know, audition tape and some people think it's terrible. You might put yourself out there and have rejection over and over again. But what can carry you through is, instead of trying to find motivation in external validation or in not being afraid anymore or in just like hustle culture, working on instead the power of your own personal belief in yourself. Because the more I meditate on affirmations about truly believing I am good and worthy, even if I make mistakes, even if I don't show up perfectly, even if I'm not a great writer, like, even if I'm not beautiful, like, it doesn't matter. If I know I'm beautiful, I know I'm a good writer, I know all those things are true, but those are my fears, those are my traumas. And so if I can say, even if those things are true, I still believe in myself. I still know what I'm capable of. And sometimes, as someone futuristic who is always looking to the future, it is more helpful for me to look to the past to say, where is the evidence that I have come through hard things before? And I've got a new video that will be coming out probably tomorrow, on heart breathings, where I talk about my fall goals. And one of the things I talk about specifically is, I've been going through this transitional period, and I reached out to Andrea Crowder, who is a mentor of mine, and said, she actually reached out to me and said, you've been on my mind a lot. Are you okay? Is everything okay? And I just said, I'm really struggling. I'm going through some kind of spiritual, personal transition where I feel like I'm trying to figure out who I am again. And she said, me too, go read my latest post. And her latest post was something about, where were you and what were you going through 7 years ago? And I don't really know a lot about numerology and what some of those numbers mean, but I do believe in seasons and cycles in our life. And when I thought back to August of 2017, which is 7 years ago right now, I was going through one of the most massive transformations of my life. I had just recently cut my family out of my life and was, at this point, finally understanding that that meant that nobody in my family wanted to be part of my life anymore. And that was incredibly difficult transition. I basically, out of a family of 100 people, between cousins and their kids and all of that, have one person left, which is my sister. And that was a transition, and it was a choice, and I was wondering if I was making the right decision. And then we were moving. We had just moved from Columbia, South Carolina to Charleston, and I was living by the beach. And I also started Bright Line Eating for the first time. And we decided, so I had just turned 40, and we had decided 1 year previous to that we were going to try for another baby. And so 7 years ago, um, I was facing 1 year of trying to get pregnant with nothing, like nothing, no sign at all that it was gonna be possible, and every doctor I went to telling me it just wasn't gonna be possible, and even we should get started on IVF immediately, and I just didn't wanna put my body through that again personally. And so, yeah, so I think this is true, like, death of a father, first year of widowhood, newlywed. This is a 9-year transitions and transformations. Kate knows. Kate knows. Thinking about it, 2017, I was coming off the most stressful year of my life. I don't know that we're all going to be on that same 7-year cycle, but it made so much sense to me because I thought about that. And when I was telling her that, she said, yes. And now think about how much after that turmoil and transition, how much you changed your own life and how much you thrived. And that was like a big light bulb for me, because it was after that I did get healthy. I did get a baby. I got pregnant. I did have, I started heart breathings. Like started publishing again, I was publishing more books. Actually, 2018, I published 5 books, which was my most prolific year of all time. So after that year of transition, I started thriving. I tripled, quadrupled something my income. We were living by the beach, like our family was growing. And then, of course, that has led into this cycle. And so sometimes I think when we talk about the power of belief and we talk about seasons, it can be helpful not just to think about where we're going and where we want to be, which again can trigger some scary thoughts, but also to think back to who you used to be and what you have been through. Just reading through the comments and hearing like worst year of my life, most traumatic thing, PTSD. I'm so sorry you went through that, Arwen. Um, just all these different stories of how this cycle is, not to think that you're going back to that level of trauma again, but instead to look at how much you have overcome in the last 7 years and how far you're going to be ahead over the next 7 years and how much of a big transformation you're about to go through. And I am telling you, I know for myself when we talk about the power of belief, sometimes I hold myself back from even allowing myself to believe what's on its way for me because I feel like, well, you're being silly and like um you shouldn't like who do you think you are kind of feelings, right? But the power of belief and working on my own confidence is finally stepping into this and saying, "Oh, I don't have to know how I'm going to get there. I don't have to know all the steps. I don't have to know if it's possible for me or question if it's possible for me. All I have to do, my only job when it comes to figuring out motivation and following through is to believe in myself, to know I do deserve it, to work more than anything on I deserve it. This is who I am. Not everybody has to love me in order for me to thrive. If people don't like me, that's okay because look at how many people are part of my family here. Like hundreds of you here right now, but thousands who watch this throughout the week. And replay crew, shout out to y'all. Like this, not that it's the numbers that matter, but it's just a piece of that belief of like 1 or 2 people say negative, crappy things to me, and I have let it derail me in the past. And I'm getting so much better. And I'm really proud of myself for moving forward on that and continuing to show up despite it. Because now, as I'm beginning to focus on the power of my belief, that is helping me change my own belief in my own identity and what is possible for me. And I truly believe that there are big things on the horizon, not just for me, but for this entire community. I think the more I start focusing on a mirror of shadows, and I also have decided on a series that's coming after that, that will be yet again in the Shadow Demons world, by the way. There will be another series. When I think about finishing Eternal Sorrows, getting back to the Witch's Key, it just starts to make me so excited. Whereas a year ago, it was nothing but stress. And now I'm starting to feel like the ideas are flowing again. My identity as a writer is coming back. And I think where I got twisted up in the last couple of years was this fear of what if people don't like me? What if I'm failing? What if I can't hold on and sustain everything I've built? And I feel suddenly like almost like a door has opened in my heart of I know it's all going to be okay. And that does not mean that I think it's going to be easy. And that does not mean that I won't make mistakes or that I won't fail or fall. But it's suddenly this deep belief in myself after years of working through some of these traumas that it's all on its way. Like everything I have dreamed of is ready to come into my life and I can feel it. It's coming. It's coming. And all I needed to do was believe in myself. And so I wanted to share that with you all, that if you have been struggling with follow through and you've been struggling with motivation because you just don't feel like you have motivation, you don't feel you deserve it, you're holding yourself back, instead of trying to almost like beat your head against a wall to just keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, take a step back and see if you can make a difference in your own life by learning how to believe in yourself again. Not spending so much time doubting, like, is this the right path? Is this who I really am? And instead start journaling on things like, what was I really put here to do? Who am I in the world? What is it I want to do? What sounds fun to me? And I have always had a belief that the more authentic I am, the more successful I will be. And yet sometimes it gets so easy when it comes to YouTube and analytics and trying to market and all of that stuff. It gets so easy to step away from your authentic self, not intentionally, but just to sort of disconnect from it for a minute to try to think, how can I make this happen? How can I market this in such a way? How can I make sure people like it? When in truth, the most magnetic thing you can do is be your authentic self. And I just got to keep reminding myself of that. So I hope that that has meant something to you. This I have this candle. This pink candle is from Lunam Love, and it's called Sugar Baby of the Universe. And it came with actual sugar and these like salts, and it came with a bag of sugar, and it came with this super cute spoon and this pretty thing. And it is lit. I was looking back and I'm like, is it lit? It is lit. It's just very, very muted. But anyway, I wanted to share that. That has been in my heart, on my heart, because I feel like there has been a lot of heaviness lately of, is everything going to be okay? Are we going to make it through this? We have all been through global transitions, lots of things. And I feel like something is changing for the better. And I think there's going to be a lot of fun stuff coming. I think there's going to be a lot of us stepping into our power and being more confident than ever and knowing that we've got this, and the power of that belief of like, okay, what's coming my way? I know I've got this. It might not be easy, but I know I can do this. There's just power in that more so than let me get motivated to do this thing that I keep failing on, because there's just this heaviness to it. So try to find your lightness of, I am powerful. I got this. I can do this. This is who I was put here to be. Like, this is what I was meant to do. And I think I have always known that this is what I was put here to do. And when people tell me, I told you, I've had business coaches and friends tell me, if you want to be an author, successful author, you have to let go of heart breathings. And other people tell me, if you want heart breathings to be a 7-figure business, you have to stop writing. And I'm just like, no, because I know I was put here on this earth to do both and to build community. And my number one value is I want to make people feel like they're a part of something. And as long as I'm doing that, I'm doing what I was meant to do. And I don't have to be a 7-figure person to be successful. I am successful right here as I am. And I'm starting to understand that sometimes the only reason that I feel like I need that level of validation and fame or money is because I'm trying to prove myself. So when I let go of the need to have to prove myself to anyone else, I can sit back and truly embody this cherry on top energy of, I already have so many of my dreams. So why not the next one? Like, please and thank you, universe. Let's move on to the next one, right? And that has nothing to do. It's the same thing with with when I wanted to self-publish and people were like, "Oh my gosh, don't do that. It's the worst thing you could do for your career." But I knew that it was right for me. And I literally put the word believe on my body because I knew that it was there. And you know what? The truth is, I think I will be a 7-figure author, but I don't need it. But if it happens, let's celebrate, right? Let's do it. What if you have two business ideas that don't connect like yours do? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know 100% what all the answers are, but there might be a way to do them both, um, just at different times in your life, right? Or it might be that one of them is not your real path. I don't know. We'd have to sit and chat about it. Maybe we can do a Zoom call or something. Yeah, watch me. Exactly, Jenna. It's like watch me energy. there was a Elizabeth Briggs. I don't know if you've all read her series, her Zodiac series, but she's amazing. And she did a speech at RAM a couple of years ago where she said, I will, watch me. And it was super, super motivational. But yeah, I'm gonna read this. I promise I won't go over. I don't know that I'm gonna get to these questions, but we're gonna try. We're gonna try. We got distracted. So this is just 2 pages. Evie wrote on this apparently. Did not know. I'm gonna read you one of Kieran's scenes that I'm deleting. So this was previously chapter 9. This is a past a scene from the past, and this is from his point of view. Kieran is Vanessa's brother. So we're going to switch gears and we're going to read this, and then we're going to answer some questions. So, where are you off to tonight? For the past week since school let out, my sister Vanessa had been lounging on the couch in shorts and slouchy t-shirts. Tonight, though, she'd gone all out, and I wasn't sure I approved. Hot date, I assume? She rolled her eyes. I don't think Finn knows the meaning of the phrase, she said. We're going to a party at Kate's. Have you seen Piper? I shook my head. Is she here? Vanessa sighed, and I followed her into the living room. She should be. We need to get going if we want to pick up a few party favors ahead of time, if you know what I mean. I sat down on the couch, phone in hand, as I scrolled through, looking for something to watch. Unlike my baby sister, I had no hot dates or parties to look forward to this weekend. All my friends were out of town at a concert while I'd been tasked with watching out for the house and feeding the dogs in our parents' absence, like always. Mom and Dad didn't trust me to go out of town anymore, not after what happened last year. I'd made fools of them, or at least that's what Dad had told me every single day since. So, babysitting while they traveled the world making fools of themselves was my penance, or sentence, depending on how you wanted to look at it. One I'd probably be serving for the next 2 years, or however long I decided to stick around. In some ways, I was ready to bolt, but there were other things keeping me close, like making sure Vanessa wasn't alone all the time. Vanessa, dear sister, why, oh, why do you insist on getting these so called party favors from totally random, undisclosed sources instead of just asking for my help? Because I love you and I don't want you to get into any more trouble. She leaned over the back of the couch and kissed my cheek. What are you doing tonight? She asked. Don't tell me you're just going to sit here all night scrolling Netflix. I shrugged. I might order a pizza or swing by the grill, grab a burger or something. Vanessa came around the side of the couch, staring at me with this knowing smile on her face. The grill, huh? Just like last weekend. Can't imagine why. I groaned. How did this girl always see right through me? I would never hear the end of it now. She sat next to me and propped her high-heeled boots on the brown leather ottoman. Mom would have freaked out to see those shoes on in the house, particularly this close to her expensive furniture. But once again, Mom wasn't here. They have good milkshakes, I countered. I'm sure that's it. She raised an eyebrow. Can't have anything to do with a certain nerdy girl who tends to hang out there with her laptop. I sighed. Nothing got past Vanessa, even when it seemed she was paying no attention at all. If only Lorelai was half as observant. What I don't get is why said nerdy girl isn't invited to go all out at Kate's, dolled up like the rest of you, I asked, lowering my phone to watch her reaction. Whatever happened to the inseparable group y'all used to be? Vanessa pouted. Like she'd go anyway. Lorelai isn't exactly the party girl these days. I think it bothers her a lot more than she lets on. Besides, how do you know what she'll do if you don't invite her? We do invite her most of the time, Vanessa said. Besides, she's the one who distanced herself from us. You can't pin that on me. I narrowed my eyes. She, of all people, should know better. Oh, is that right? So you're saying it's her fault her dad died and she missed almost an entire year of school in 8th grade while the rest of you moved on to things like cheerleading and dating the guy little Lorelai had a crush on since kindergarten? Vanessa sat up, eyes wide. Are you seriously saying you wish Finn was dating Lorelai right now instead of me? I don't think you want to be rooting for that particular coupling unless I'm wrong about the very obvious feelings you have for her. I ran my hands across my face. Is it obvious? Because she seems clueless. It's obvious to me, Vanessa said, standing and straightening her skirt. I just realized I have that in here twice. Hold on. She's too young for me, I said. Vanessa rolled her eyes. 2 years is not a big deal, and you know it. Mom and dad are 6 years apart, she said. But don't worry. I happen to be very good at keeping secrets. I laughed. Somehow, I seriously doubt that. With my friends, you'd be surprised. Vanessa stood with a smile. Just ask her out, Kieran. Make her open her eyes for once to the vast non-fin world around her. Lord knows we need something to spice things up around here. It's the summer before senior year, and I've never been so bored in my life. That's just because you're spoiled, I shouted as she disappeared up the stairs. I know you are, but what am I? She shouted back. I laughed and settled back on the couch, wondering if this summer was the right time to finally make my move. So not fully edited and perfect, but deleted nonetheless. I made some decisions to switch some things around and have deleted that particular scene, even though I wanted to read it because I really like the interaction between Kieran and Vanessa. And I hate to take it out because I like the way they talk to each other and like how just they're in this together kind of feeling. But I have some other things that I'm going to do instead. So I took it out. So I thought I would read it for you all. But hopefully there will be a lot more of it for you to read soon. So we will see. I wonder if he actually asked her out or not. So I did a few weeks ago, a month ago or so, read the scene that comes after this, which is Finn in the diner. So if you Finn and Lorelai in the diner. So if you remember that scene, this one comes right before that scene. So it kind of gives you some ideas, but you probably don't fully remember it. But all right, we have 8 minutes left and we have so many questions. So I'm going to try to answer some of them. And some of them I'm like, did I answer this before? I cannot remember, but so excited for the final product if that's not edited. Kind of all of this got edited, but this is definitely one of the scenes I did not edit because I didn't think I was going to keep it in. So thank you for that vote of confidence. I have been editing the mess out of this book, I feel like. I don't remember which one, and I honestly don't think I labeled them as to which one. So I'll see if I can find it for you all, but we'll see. All right. Rapid fire questions. Cassie Ray said, any tips for when you're avoiding something because it's difficult? And now I can't remember if I answered that one or not, but I think we answered that today, kind of. I don't know if Cassie's here or not, but I know you're going through some tough transitions of your own pretty soon. But yeah, they're all unanswered. Yeah, I feel like I answered this one before, but maybe I didn't. So yeah, I think the whole topic has been kind of how to keep moving forward when you've been avoiding something is just work on your own belief and understanding the reasons why you have been avoiding it and facing it from a different perspective instead of trying to figure out why you're avoiding it and so on. Just try to work on your own self-belief. So Existential Chaos says, what's your opinion on your free write alpha? I was thinking of getting one, but I've seen too many horror stories of people losing their work. And unless it's really good, I can't justify the price. I have an actual typewriter for distraction-free writing, but sometimes I want something easier. When you said that, I was like, oh gosh, I better go look because I have heard of people losing theirs on an actual Alpha Smart, and that has happened to me before, but I did not know people were losing their work on the free write, and I forgot to go do research on that. I have not been using the free write alpha a lot because it's really more of a drafting thing. And I have been editing this book for a year and a half. But I am taking it with me on my writing retreat because I have at least 15,000 words that I need to write from scratch because of a major storyline thread that has changed in the last 2 weeks. And so I'm going to take it with me and I will let you know. But I did see that they were running an ad that was saying they're basically getting rid of it. Like once they're all sold out, they're not bringing it back. So I will try to get back to you on it. But I did see some people say that they haven't lost their work because they're making sure to transfer it right away. And that some of the problems with the losing of stuff is because they just didn't transfer, and then like tried to transfer stuff that had been on there for months and it was lost. So I will keep you updated, but I will be very careful to try not to lose my work because that at this point would be Devastating. Elizabeth says, I know this is a strange question, but how do you know what genre and subgenre you are writing in? The novel I'm writing has romance, time travel, psychic abilities, and cyborgs. Is there such a thing as romantic sci-fi? I don't know where I fit in. There is romantic sci-fi, but one of the biggest things, if you know that you're writing something romantic, one of the first questions you can ask yourself is, if I took the romance out of this book, would there still be a plot or a reason for the story? And if the answer is no, then you're writing a romance. Like if the whole point of the romance is these people falling in love and changing and going through whatever they have to do so that they can end up together at the end, then you're writing a romance. If you could take that romance out and the story maybe not be as strong or emotional, but you would still have a heroine. So like Harper, for example, in Beautiful Demons, she falls for Jackson, but you could take Jackson entirely out of that story and she would still have a storyline with the Order of Shadows and her need to, figure out where she belongs, that coming of age story. You could follow it all the way through book 11 with no Jackson. The story wouldn't be as good, but that makes it not really a romance fully. So that's one of the first questions. The next question, when you have a lot of different things like romance, time travel, psychic abilities, cyborgs, whatever, is you've already identified, okay, we know this is science fiction because of these things, but lots of stories have so many different things to them. And so really just trying to figure out what is the main and central conflict of your story and what does that revolve around? What are the stakes and what's the big bad or the big, I know I would not want Jackson gone, but YA romance is a little different. So Katya says, romance must have a happily ever after or happy for now. Otherwise it's not a romance. So that's another good way to tell. I feel like people are changing some of the ways that they're doing things these days, where sometimes it's a trilogy, like 50 Shades of Grey, for example, before the romance is resolved. So some people are sort of breaking what used to be a rule of like happily ever after in every book. Also, in some genres like young adult, it can still be considered a romance, even if there is no happily ever after at the end, but you would want it to be kind of a happy for now, right? You wouldn't want them to break up at the end. That makes it not a romance. So that is an important thing to understand. So think about your central conflict. What's the main thing that's happening in the story? And that's going to tell you what it is. And then it might have these other things that are elements of the story, but not the core of the story. All right. Lioness says, I have a question about Deep Dark Secrets, which I finished this week. Did you mean to leave the ending as a cliffhanger? I enjoyed the characters, and I did not know who the culprit was until it was revealed. Thank you for writing another great book. So I thought I had updated the blurb everywhere, but it's totally possible I did not. Deep Dark Secrets was originally going to be the first of a trilogy, and I have since decided not to continue that series. So that book will be rewritten as a standalone, where it's basically the same story it is, but instead of it having things that lead to like there's a point of the story that is three different things, I'm going to change that down to one. And that story probably will be rewritten here before the end of the year and re-released. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I apologize that it is not finished as a series, but when it gets updated, I will let you all know. Annalise Richards says, will extreme outlining like James Patterson or Stephen King make it easier to actually write the book? I've outlined 89 scenes and fleshed out 46 of those. I feel like it will make it easier to actually write the book, but maybe I'm going down a rabbit hole. So it depends. For some people, like I had this really good friend that wrote romance, and she would just stick to her outline no matter what. And even if the characters wanted to do something different or something changed in the writing, she would usually just say, I'm going to do it the way I outlined it. And I can't do that. For me, I can outline it, I can flesh out a million cards, and then I'll get 4 scenes in and the characters are doing something totally different than like it's just not writing the way that I saw it in my head. I just can't follow my outline. So I think for most writers, there's a balance in starting to understand your own process to say, at what point can I write without fleshing things out? And at what point am I potentially wasting time? Because 89 scenes and 49 of them fleshed out. What happens when you start writing and you're 4 scenes in and some like a plot twist or characters introduce themselves or something new comes as you're writing, and now all of those remainder 85 scenes are not quite relevant. You've just spent 2 years hey, babe. You've just spent 2 years outlining something you can't use. So, if this is your first book and you've spent all this time, I would go ahead and start writing and see how well you stick to an outline. Some people stick to an outline verbatim, so when they do the outlining phase, it makes it super easy and fast for them to write the book, like, in a month, it's done. Other people will spend their whole lives outlining something, and then when they start to write, the characters just have a different mind of their own, and it's just like, that whole outlining process was worthless. So it depends. It could potentially make it super easy for you, but it also could be something that ends up being more frustrating, like you wasted time. So I would say stop procrastinating, start writing, see how it turns out. Finding your individual process can sometimes be one of the most challenging parts. Um, Nick says, how did you decide how many books your series would be? Well, partially it's just when I write the book and I finish this book, I know there's another book yet to go. Originally, Shadow Demons was Peachville High Demons, and it was supposed to be 3 books. And by the time I was into book 2, I knew there was going to be more to the story. So I just kept writing. Then I said, it's definitely going to be 5. And then when I was halfway through book 5, I knew there needed to be a book 6. And so once I finished book 6, which is sort of the end of a story arc, I knew I was going to write another series, kind of assumed that it would also be 6 books. We'll see. I'm on book 12 right now, but there is some part in the back of my mind that says maybe there's going to be 13 and we just have to wait and see. So sometimes you just don't know. When it came to my romance series in Fairhope, I just knew which characters were going to get a romance. So it's like I knew I wanted to write one with, with Penny, and I knew I wanted to have one for each of these particular characters. And so that was how I determined how long the series would be. So that each series kind of has its own way, but same thing happened to me in terms of Eternal Sorrow series, which again was supposed to be 3 books. And I couldn't finish and make that pre-order several years ago. And it was like literally falling to my knees in the middle of the night because I realized I can't finish this in 3 books and it needs another book. And now readers have been waiting like 4 years for book 4 because it wasn't in my schedule. So biggest lesson is follow your intuition on how much it just needs. And then also don't put yourself in a situation where you're writing 5 series at once and you can't finish them all. Okay. We have, I think, I'm trying to see. There's 2 more questions, so we're just going to stay and finish them so we can clear this out. Stephanie says, what's your go-to self-care routine after writing a particularly emotionally charged scene? I like to go outside. If I have written something that is really emotionally charged, I have to do, as they say, touch grass. I have to go um, outside. I have to walk around. I have to be around my family. I need people around me. I need fun, joyful things, or I need like snuggle time, but I need to get outside in the sun if possible, if I can. If it's something I've written at night, then I'll often just go hang out with George and like cuddle in the bed or whatever, or go watch a movie with him because I just need something to sort of cleanse the palate. So that's kind of my usual go to is like, let's go take a walk because I just need it. Annalise Richards says, is the current trend to write series or does that depend on the genre? So I think it depends on the genre and it depends on your publishing path. So if you are writing for the indie world, it is much more common to write series because that is the bread and butter of most indie authors, is one book after the other, because that is the easiest way to get readers in your world and to continue on with you. Whereas a lot of readers might read one book, but so for me, a lot of my readers, 100,000 plus, have read Shadow Demons, but then, only 20,000 have read Eternal Sorrows. So people don't always follow you across series. So, it's lucrative and a good marketing plan to write series. But yes, it can depend on genre. So if you are writing rom-com, or you're writing dark romance, or you're writing even sometimes like mafia romance or certain things like that. Sometimes if you're writing literary fiction or like upmarket women's fiction or something like that, you'll see a lot of standalones. Like Colleen Hoover writes mostly standalone stuff. And she's the most popular author we've ever known. You will see a lot of series that are each book a standalone within the series in indie as well. But it does often depend on genre. But also, if you're traditionally published, sometimes it depends on how many books they're willing to buy from you. So you don't always have control if you're traditionally published over how many books they're going to let you write in your own series. So just be careful of the contracts you sign when it comes to that. Come in. But I think that's all of our questions. So at least we made it through that. This has been, hello, my sweet girl. Oh, she's not a sweet girl. Can you do what?
Can I get a gem?
Oh, she wants a gemstone. So we've been doing these gems in the house. So we shall see. We're going to go check in on this. We also have a babysitter coming in an hour, and George and I are going to go see Wolverine and Deadpool. So it's a swimsuit bottom. Sure. All right. Anyway, yes, I will. You just lose the chat replay. Oh no. Okay. Well, we'll just have to lose chat replay. So sorry for those of you watching on replay. My child just flashed the audience, so that's going to get edited out. All right. I love you all. Thank you so much for being part of today's chat, for staying a little bit of extra time. This was super fun. I will be here next Friday for a coffee chat, and hopefully we will have some exciting things to share. I'm going to start sharing soon about Broken Chapter Society, because I have a launch date for that to share and how that's all going to work. And behind the scenes, I'm working on such fun stuff for that, and I cannot wait. So it's going to be great. I will see you all next. No, I'm going to. Please don't knock over my candle. Okay. No, I'm a little nervous what you're going to do. We are just going to say goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for hanging out. If you want to send any like well wishes to me on finishing this book next week, yes. And I will be a little absent from social media for the next few days after tomorrow, but I will be back with the vengeance next Friday. Thank you all, and I will see you next time. Bye.